Okay, ready to dive into this. Unlocking the secrets of storytelling. That's what we're doing today.
I like it.
We're going deep into what makes a story truly captivating. And trust me, it's way more than just happily ever after, Ash.
Oh,
We
absolutely.
got excerpts from some fascinating writings on narrative theory.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, these excerpts, they don't just scratch the surface.
Precisely. They really dig deep.
They really do.
We often get, I think, so caught up in the excitement of what happens next
Right.
that we kind of forget to appreciate the
Yeah.
underlying structure of a story,
But why?
the scaffolding that holds it all together. Yeah.
It's like admiring like a perfectly baked cake,
Right.
but not even thinking about the recipe, the ingredients,
Yeah.
the measurements, like all the things that make it work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And speaking of things that work together,
Okay.
our source material today compares a well-crafted story to a living, breathing organism.
Ooh, I like that analogy. Okay.
Yeah,
It is a powerful analogy.
it is.
Just like a living organism has interconnected systems.
Mhm.
The nervous system, the circulatory system, the skeletal system.
Right.
A good story has interconnected elements that work together to make it feel real, alive.
Yes. And I think that's a good way for us, as we're going through this, to kind of think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, think about, okay, when I think about some of my favorite stories, what are those systems at play?
Okay.
Is the plot really tightly woven, or does it kind of meander like a lazy river?
Yeah.
What about the characters? Are they well developed? Do they have their own, like, motivations, their flaws, all of that?
Those are great questions to be asking as you're engaging with any story.
Right.
And the excerpt really argues that instead of like forcing a story
Yeah.
into like a predetermined mold, we should pay attention to that natural progression of the narrative.
Like, let it breathe.
Yeah, the organic way it unfolds.
Yeah, it really challenges that classic advice that we hear all the time of, like, just figure out what happens next.
Right.
It's more about understanding, like, the why and the how of those events.
Yeah,
And the underlying structure that kind of gives them meaning.
exactly. And how does that work? Like, is it a linear progression, like a hero's journey, a clear beginning, middle, and end?
Yeah.
Or is it more like a spiral?
Ooh.
Circling back to key events, revealing new layers of meaning each time?
Ooh. I like that. Like a mystery novel.
Yes.
A mystery novel is a perfect example of that spiral structure.
Absolutely.
Keeps you guessing, right?
Right.
But instead of just like throwing in random plot twists,
Right, it's got to be organic.
it uses that structure to build suspense
Yeah.
and deepen the impact of each kind of like reveal.
Absolutely. Now, the source also delves into this fascinating concept called the dramatic code. Have you heard of this?
I have.
The idea that stories are at their core about showing us how a character changes
Okay.
or why they might resist change.
Right. Why they don't change.
Yes, exactly.
And that really resonated with me when I was reading it because it's like, it's not just about their actions.
Yes.
It's about the deeper meaning behind it, like their internal journey.
Absolutely. And that's what I think makes for such a good story.
Yeah. Think about it. The most compelling stories, the ones that stay with us long after we've finished reading or watching, they tap into that human desire.
Yes.
To see that growth, to witness characters grappling with their flaws, their desires, and ultimately the consequences of their choices.
And it's not always about like a fairy tale transformation.
Exactly.
Sometimes the most compelling stories are about the characters who refuse to change, and we're left thinking like, why? What is going on?
And that's what makes us think, that's what makes us ponder,
Yeah.
is that exploration of the human condition, the understanding of why we do what we do.
And what's interesting about that is it's not just limited to characters, right?
Tell me more.
This dramatic code you're talking about
Sure.
applies to the stories we tell ourselves, right?
The narratives we build about our own lives.
That's right. That's right.
It's not just about what happens to us.
Yeah.
It's how we internalize those events, how they shape our choices moving forward.
I love that.
And speaking of different kinds of stories, the source also breaks down all these different shapes stories can take.
Okay.
From ancient myths to modern TV series, there's a whole world of narrative forms out there.
Oh, I love that. And it's fascinating how the form of a story,
Yes.
whether it's a poem, a play, a film,
Right.
influences what it's trying to say.
Yeah,
like
both.
imagine trying to cram the epic scope of Lord of the Rings
Oh my God.
into a 10-minute short film. It'd be impossible.
It'd be like trying to fit an ocean into a teacup.
Exactly.
Like
Oh,
each form has its strengths.
Ah,
Right. Like A sweeping epic might explore grand themes of good versus evil, right?
Mm-hmm.
While a quiet, character-driven indie film might just delve into like the complexities of a single relationship.
You're picking the right tool for the job.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit here.
Okay.
Let's talk about how writers actually create these narratives.
Yes. How do they do it?
Because it's a craft, it's an art.
It is.
The source advocates for a fascinating inside-out approach to storytelling. Have you ever heard of this?
I have, and it really resonated with me
Oh, tell me more.
because it's about starting with the heart of the story.
Okay. Yeah.
The core message, the characters, the driving premise,
Mm-hmm.
and then building outward from there.
Yep.
And letting this story unfold organically, kind of like, how a flower blooms.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about trusting the process,
Right.
allowing the characters and the themes to dictate the direction of the story, not forcing it
Yeah, not forcing
into a
those.
predetermined mold.
So it's not about, like, I've heard a lot of people, like, when they're writing, they do, like, a really detailed outline,
Right.
and they're, like, trying to make everything fit perfectly into that.
Yeah,
This is more so, like, a flexible, exploratory approach.
exactly. Like embracing the unknown,
Yeah.
allowing for those unexpected twists and turns.
That's what makes it interesting.
That's what makes it good.
Yeah, totally.
Keeps us on the edge of our seats.
It's like setting out on a road trip, but, you don't have a strict itinerary.
Okay.
You're just open to discovering hidden gems and scenic detours along the way.
I love that. Yeah.
So, kind of going off of that a little bit, speaking of hidden gems,
Okay.
the source also dives into this fascinating world of symbolism,
Oh, yeah.
and it compares symbols to little packages of compressed meaning.
Okay, I like that.
So it's like these small details that can add like layers of depth and richness to a story.
It's amazing how a single object, a color, or even a recurring phrase can take on a life of its own.
Totally.
And it's subtly reinforcing the themes
Yes.
or hinting at a character's inner world.
Like the green light in The Great Gatsby,
Yes.
or the color red in The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, such a good example.
Those symbols add a whole other dimension to this story.
They really do. They invite us to engage with the story on a deeper level, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
To look beyond the surface.
Yes.
Uncover the hidden meanings.
It's almost like the author is giving us a secret language
Yes.
to decipher,
Right.
and it makes us active participants in this storytelling process.
That's right. And I think we forget that,
Yeah.
that storytelling isn't a passive activity.
It's not.
It's a two-way street, the
Right.
conversation between the creator and the audience.
And our source material really touches on this too.
It does.
And it emphasizes how important it is for the audience to have to work a little, to actively engage with the story, to really uncover its meaning.
That's a crucial point. Think about how frustrating it can be
Yes.
when a story spoon feeds you every single detail,
Ugh. The worst.
leaving no room for interpretation or discovery.
It's like being on one of those like super guided tours.
Right.
Where the tour guide tells you absolutely everything and you have no space for your own curiosity or your own wonder.
Exactly. And I think the most rewarding stories are the ones that withhold information strategically.
Oh, 100%.
They invite us to fill in the gaps, come to our own conclusions.
It's that element of mystery and surprise that keeps us hooked.
Yeah, it's like the story's a puzzle.
Yes.
And we, the audience, we get to put the pieces together.
Precisely. And the best puzzles, they don't reveal themselves all at once, right?
No.
They offer
No.
clues,
Right.
red herrings, unexpected connections
Pick you guessing.
that keep us guessing till the very end.
And that element of surprise, it doesn't always have to come from like a shocking plot twist
Okay.
or a big reveal.
Right.
Sometimes it's the quiet moments that surprise us the most.
Oh, interesting.
Like a subtle shift in a character's perspective.
Okay.
A newfound understanding that changes everything we thought we knew.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Totally.
So think about a story like To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay.
The real surprise in that story isn't the outcome of the trial.
Right.
It's Scout's growth, her
Love that.
evolving understanding of the world around her.
It's those subtle, those character revelations can be just as impactful as any plot twist.
Absolutely, and it makes you want to go back and reread it.
Yes.
Or rewatch the film, right?
Yeah.
Because we're like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
there are layers here I haven't fully unpacked.
Yeah. 100%.
There are nuances I might have missed the first time around.
Yeah. Totally.
And it all circles back to this idea of the story being a journey,
Right.
both for the characters
Yeah.
and for us as the audience.
It's a journey for everyone.
And just like any good journey,
Yeah.
there should be those moments of reflection, of discovery,
Yeah.
and even transformation along the way.
Transformation, I like that.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what I find really fascinating about all of this is that
What's that?
Source talks about how, like, understanding these storytelling techniques
Yeah.
can help us not just appreciate other people's stories,
Okay.
but also shape our own narratives.
Ooh, interesting.
You know, the stories we tell ourselves about our own lives.
That's such a good point. Because we often think of storytelling as something external,
Right.
something we consume for entertainment, for escape.
Yeah, like a movie, a TV show.
Yeah, but the truth is,
Yeah.
we are all storytellers. We
Uh-huh.
tell stories every single day
Every day.
about our past, our present, our hopes for the future.
It's how we make sense of the world, right?
Exactly.
And so if we understand, like, how stories work,
Hmm.
like how to structure them,
Yeah.
create those compelling characters,
Yes.
use symbolism effectively, then we can kind of become, like, more conscious creators of our own narratives.
Think about how we tend to remember events in our lives.
Okay.
We don't remember every single detail.
No.
We remember the highlights,
Yeah.
the turning points,
Right.
the emotional beats that resonate with us.
Yes, the things that we really felt.
It's like we're editing our own life stories in real time, you know?
Interesting.
Choosing which details to emphasize, which
Yeah.
ones to kind of, I don't know, gloss over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just like in a good book or film, those choices, they shape how we understand our own experiences.
So if we can, like, become more aware of those choices,
Yes.
then we can, like, start to shape our narratives in a more intentional way.
Exactly.
Right.
That's right.
Like, maybe we want to focus on themes of resilience and growth.
Okay.
Or maybe we want to explore, like, the complexities of our relationships.
Yeah.
The moments of joy, the heartbreaks, all the things that make us who we are.
Yes.
And who knows, like, maybe by understanding these storytelling techniques, we can start to see new possibilities in our own lives. New ways of, like, framing our experiences that open us up to growth and change.
Yeah, that's good.
It's like we become the authors of our own destinies.
I love that.
Right.
That's a really powerful way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to the transformative power of storytelling.
Yeah.
You know, not just to entertain,
Yeah.
but to enlighten, to inspire, and ultimately to help us understand ourselves and the world around us a little bit better.
A little bit better. Yeah. And it's like that saying, we're not just like living our lives, we're creating our own, like, personal legends.
Exactly. And just like any good storyteller, we have the power to choose the themes, the characters, like the overall message
Yes.
that we want to convey with our lives.
You know, this has been amazing.
It has.
Like, we've covered so much ground today, from like the nuts and bolts of narrative structure
Yeah, we really have.
to like that profound impact that stories can have on our lives.
Absolutely.
What stands out to you as the most important takeaway?
That's a great question. For me, I think it's the reminder that stories are everywhere.
Yes.
They're not just confined to books and movies.
Yeah.
You know, they're in the conversations we have,
Right.
the dreams we chase, the way we interact with the world around us.
It's so true. And I feel like once you start seeing the world through that lens,
Right.
like a tapestry of interconnected stories, it changes everything.
It encourages us to be more mindful
Yes.
of the stories we choose to engage with and the stories we choose to tell.
Yes, I love that. Like, be mindful of the stories we're consuming, but then also be mindful of the stories that we are putting out into the world.
Absolutely.
Ooh, I like that. So the next time you find yourself swept away by a captivating novel,
Okay.
or even just like a friend telling you like a really interesting anecdote, remember this conversation.
Yes. Yes.
Pay attention to the structure, the symbolism, the character arcs.
It's all there.
You might be surprised by what you discover,
You might be surprised, and don't forget the most important story of all.
which is,
Tyrone.
oh, I like that. So if every story is a form of communication, like what message are you trying to send?
Ooh, that's a good one.
With the story of your life, what choices can you make today
Yes.
to like shape your narrative in a meaningful and impactful way?
Now, those are questions worth pondering.
They are. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive.
This was fun. Let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.